think everybody is there, so we can start the. I'll read each sentence, and I think it's very clear because last time we did that. What are the 3 steps? So,
can you please tell me the page
Pardon?
and para? Can
Page
you
number 38.
Yeah,
No, I didn't.
Last para.
Thank
Last
you.
para of the core of the teaching. The chapter is core of the teaching, and we have to do the last para. Okay. Yasmin, you are in Bombay?
Yes, we traveled yesterday, so I couldn't attend class yesterday because we were traveling.
Okay, so you are in Bombay now. Mumbai, not Bombay. Okay, have you got the text? As soon as you get the text, we'll start. Ready? In this last para, Swamdeva has absolutely given you the core of the teaching. So we'll do that, and you can make notes also if you want. I have in my book, I have put the 3 steps very, very clearly. First step, second step, third step. So, are you ready, everybody?
Yes, Rangada.
Okay. Yeah. So there are 3 steps. He is giving you the core of the teaching in the last para. He is summarizing magnificently. The first step is Karma Yoga. The second step is, I'll read, but I'm just giving you the gist first. Okay. The first step is Karma Yoga, and Karma Yoga has 3 elements. Next step is Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga also has got 3 elements. Then the last one is the Bhakti Yoga, particularly, and there also there are 2 elements. So this is what he is summarizing the whole thing, core of the teaching. We'll look at what he's saying now. I start reading the sentences one by one. The first step is Karma Yoga. The concept of Karma Yoga is clear. We do action, and action includes everything. Even our body is acting, our vital is acting, and our mind also is acting. Mind is having thoughts, vital is having emotions and sensations, and the body is actually also working. But normally we do all these things for ourselves. We do it for our own benefit. We have got motives and desires, and we do that. So Karma Yoga is whatever we do, it has to be as a sacrifice to the divine, not for myself, but to you. Even if it is for me, in the beginning, I offer it to you. Very easy. When I'm going to eat, I'm going to enjoy the taste and it's going to be for me. But I offer it first to you. So that offering every time, if it is done 100,000 times, then you do it really for the Lord. Okay, so even if you are doing it for yourself in the beginning, offer it to the Lord. Remember Him, give it to Him, and that is the reason why in our Indian system, that's what we do. Of course, even in the West, when they have meal, they sit down and give us our daily bread. That prayer is there in the West, and they pray to God, and then they start eating. So this is something fundamental in human nature. Give it to the divine. First step is Karma Yoga. And what is that? The selfless sacrifice of works. And here, the Gita's insistence is on action. So, action. Whatever you are doing with the physical body, you are doing it for the Lord. And I will go through each sentence and then we'll come back to the elements in the Karma Yoga. The second one is the Jnana Yoga. And what is that? The Jnana Yoga is self-realization and knowledge of the true nature of the self and the world. You come to know yourself and you come to know the nature of the world. There is an inside and an outside. There is a subjective element in you and there is an external, the objective element inside the cosmos. Outside you, but inside the cosmos. And here the insistence is on knowledge. You must know They say even a warrior, he has to know his enemy. If he does not know his enemy, how is he going to tackle him? So knowledge is very important. Knowledge. But the sacrifice of works continues and the path of works becomes one with, but does not disappear into the path of knowledge. They merge one into the other. With more knowledge, your action will be more perfect. That's what he's saying. Then the last step, there is a third, Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is very important because other two don't necessarily insist on Bhakti Yoga. But Gita insists on Bhakti Yoga because then you get the personal aspect of the divine, the Purushottama, the third level. Okay?
But
Yes,
Rangada, when we
yes.
do karma yoga and offer it, that is not part of bhakti yoga because we are offering it to the divine or the supreme. It is
Okay, tell me.
because of bhakti that we are offering, no? It's not because
necessarily. Not necessarily. I may be very calm and quiet without any movement, without emotion, and I offer it to him. It's more a.
But then why
when-
should we offer?
Oh, that's a prompting from the soul. It can be three different things. Don't think that they are absolutely inevitable to each other. They become inevitable in the end, but not in the beginning. Can we say very clearly that whenever we go to a temple or whenever we go to mother, temple I'm saying because now mother is not there and many people go to the temple. Can we always say that when we are bowing down to the, our thoughts don't wander, they go here and there. So it is without bhakti. It's very possible. But that's a first. What Shilpa is saying is wonderful. If you can do it with bhakti, and that's what Shilpa is saying in the Gita, is saying that you have to do it with bhakti, but not necessarily in the beginning. That's why he's saying all the three must combine. Okay, not only bhakti, but also knowledge. With bhakti and knowledge, your karma will become perfect. Okay, in the beginning, all our karma is without even sacrifice. Then you start remembering and offering, remembering and offering. Then that remembering and offering gives you actually a knowledge of the divine, and finally you get even bhakti for the divine. It's a gradation. Okay? Maybe some people can claim that when I am sacrificing and I am remembering and I am giving it to the divine, there is always a little bit of emotion. You may say that, but it is possible to have it without emotion. I just remember mechanically and I give. Mechanically also it's possible. Don't we all go to the samadhi and just bow down? And very often there is no emotion and there is no remembrance also. We are bowing down. The movement is there. So I'm going to the samadhi and bowing down, but my thoughts are wandering here and there. Oh my God, this problem is there. What should I do? Or I have to go to corner house next. What is there for dinner there? Our thoughts can wander. So when the thoughts are wandering and the problems of the world are bothering you, your karma, okay, even when it is offered to the divine, as I said, you are bowing down to the samadhi, but not necessarily that every time you go there, you are concentrated and you are offering good. If you do that, it's the most wonderful thing. But because we are imperfect, it doesn't always happen. Okay. So what Shilpa is saying is absolutely excellent, but it does not always happen. Okay.
It is Pallavi then who has asked.
Oh, that was Pallavi's question. Sorry.
Yes.
Your voice is on the phone. I can't recognize very often. And besides,
Hello.
yes, tell me.
I feel that in Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga, everything is a fusion of one into the other.
Absolutely. But at the end,
Everything. So there are no clear-cut lines. Like you can't say that this is the border of this and that is the border of that. Everything is fusing in one into the other. You need
exactly. That's
concentration.
exactly what I'm saying.
For concentration, you need
Yes.
silent mind. You can only concentrate. Only if you have a silent mind can you concentrate in the psychic being. So, everything is so fused into each other. That's what I feel.
No, that's correct. But in the beginning, is it perfect? No, it is not. So that perfection comes only in the end. There is a fusing. But the fusing in the beginning is a confusion. But a clarity and clearness comes only at the end. If we look into ourselves and see our own experience, that is very obvious. No? As I told you, we are not always offering our work in a perfect way. Neither we, and definitely not with knowledge. We don't know the divine, but still we are giving to him. So Swamdeva is first saying, first is Karma Yoga, second is Jnana Yoga. The more you remember and offer, the more knowledge you will get of the divine. And the two merge. Okay? But not in the beginning. They don't. Then the last step is Bhakti Yoga. And what is that? Adoration and seeking of the Supreme Self as the divine being, the personal aspect of the divine. And here the insistence is on devotion. But the knowledge is not to be subordinated. When you are doing only Bhakti Yoga, you may not have any knowledge of the divine in all the different principles, but you still are doing Bhakti Yoga. But here he's saying you start with Karma Yoga, then you have more knowledge, and then you do Bhakti Yoga. I'm not saying serially you have to do that. He has told you very clearly that it can be starting point at any point, depending on the individual nature. But all the three have to merge. And when they merge perfectly, then what Yasmin is saying becomes perfect. There's a perfect fusion of the thing. Even in our body, mind, life normal, there's a fusion of body and vital and mind. There's a fusion. We can't make out clearly whether a thought or an emotion or a desire. A desire is coming from where? Is it coming from the body need? Or is it coming from the vital? Or is it coming from the mind? We can't make out always. So there is a fusion, but that fusion is confusion. Okay. But in the afterwards, it becomes, that fusion becomes very clear and very knowledgeable. It becomes very, very clear that all the elements are there. And that is the proper fusion. Okay. So this is what he's saying. Now we go to the last sentence.
But Rangana,
Please.
I think I have one doubt or one clarity I needed. When you have a bhakti, automatically all the doors and all these stages you pass very easily. Because we have seen in ashram many people who have just studied like there are many people, those who have studied till second standard and third standard, and when they come here, they become a French learned scholar. Just with the bhakti towards mother. There is an instance of Kokila Ben, and many people are there.
Oh, Kokila Ben was an extraordinary person. Okay.
Means
I tell you that the average person is not like Kokila Ben at all. Kokila Ben was an extraordinary person. If you know all the details, you will be surprised. But it is she who turned her husband towards mother. Okay. Yes. I know this thing because what was his name? Vasant Bhai, I think his name was. What was it?
Yes, Vasant Bhai.
In the beginning, he did not have any bhakti. In fact, he did not. He refused, and that's what she told him. Kokila Ben told mother that my husband doesn't follow you. So she said, "Don't worry, one day he will." And I can tell you because I was in the press, and he used to come to me. He came to me and he ordered envelopes. Okay. Beautiful marble paper. And he said the best possible paper you take and make envelopes. And the envelope should be of the size of a 100-rupee note. And I should be able to put any number of notes into that envelope. So just see that it should be like that. And so whenever he used to go to mother, he used to use these envelopes, put these 100-rupee notes into it and offer it to mother. So that did happen.
Even Lallu Kaka.
Yeah. But I can tell you, Kokila Ben is extraordinary. And I can tell you that Akshay, okay, her son, has that element of bhakti. He's got tremendous bhakti from his mother. Okay. He's got his business acumen from his father. But he has got bhakti from his mother. Even when he talks of mother, sometimes, tears come to his eyes. It's a genuine bhakti. So she was extraordinary. Don't give her example.
Even Lallu Kaka, and there are many persons, those who are here, came here when means in the late 50s or 60s or 70s, towards mother bhakti only, they have learned, they gain all the knowledge. They didn't have so much knowledge, but just only bhakti path.
Wait. There is a little bit of a confusion in what you're saying. How do you know they had knowledge? And knowledge means not mental knowledge, spiritual knowledge.
Yes.
Okay, be very careful. Okay. So how do you know they had knowledge? Knowledge of the world is different. Knowledge of the mental is different, and knowledge of the spiritual is different. So if they're speaking here of knowledge of the divine, it has spiritual knowledge. Okay, there's a difference. But bhakti, I'm not saying that bhakti is something small. It is very big. In fact, Sri Aurobindo gives a huge importance to bhakti. Okay, very important. But those who are intellectuals, they look down upon bhakti. Okay, they actually laugh. I know of many Europeans who make fun of bhakti. Okay, they make fun to the extent of even saying, I won't give names, but I know that when someone was speaking of mother with devotion, there were tears in his eyes, and they started making fun. Okay, laughing it off, and they are not Westerners; they are Indians who are Western educated. They use the word lachrymose. Lachrymose means, you can look up in the dictionary, the word. Okay. Yeah. So they make fun of it. So that is, they don't, everybody does not understand.
So bhakti is a total surrender, is the last step. Total surrender.
Yes, absolutely. When you surrender totally, your bhakti becomes perfect.
Okay.
But there can be bhakti also. There are moments when you have devotion for the Lord, but you say that I am not able to surrender. Please allow me that I can surrender to you. There are all gradations. Remember the gradations.
Yes.
We can't make rules. Life is too complicated, and as Yasmin pointed out, there is a fusion and a confusion. You can't say that everything is perfect from the beginning at all. In fact, everything is imperfect in the beginning. You may have very good bhakti, but you may have no knowledge. You may have very good bhakti, but you are not offering all your actions to the divine. You may be offering all your actions to the divine mechanically without bhakti. That also is possible. Okay, but one leads to the other. Slowly they merge. That's what Sri Aurobindo said. Okay.
Hello.
So, yes, tell me.
Nolinida, Sri Aurobindo just told him to read some French book. And by reading that book, and with a little bit of help here and there, he mastered the French language. We would take 10 to 12 years to do that. But just... and I think even Sanskrit and all, Sri Aurobindo taught him little bit here and there, and he knew it. So it is actually an evolved soul who's already done this in the past. So this is just a little revision.
Yes,
that's what I feel.
That's what I think. So both of you have given extraordinary examples. These are not normal people. Nolida is extraordinary. Okay, he was supposed to be. I mean, it's foolish to compare and make notes like that, but he is supposed to be Sri Aurobindo's best disciple. He was the one. In fact, mother also used to constantly give enough respect to him. When she was speaking in this Wednesday class one evening about Purusha and Prakriti, which she did not like at all. She did not like the concept of Purusha and Prakriti being male and female. She was quite against it. But she turned to Nolida and said, Kandit Wu, what do you say? What does Nolini say? Okay. And Nolida, with his humility, if mother says nothing, I can't say anything beyond what mother is saying. That was his answer. This is there in the Wednesday classes. Okay, sir. Yes, he is extraordinary. So don't give extraordinary examples for the normal man. Okay, it's not like that. Both the examples given, Kokila Ben, as well as Nolida, they are extraordinary examples. Okay, they are absolutely almost the peak of what we should be. But there are many others, as Shilpa was saying. There was Bibhu, the family of, he was the grandfather of Chetana and Tapas. Tapas is in Orville, their grandfather. Yeah, a tremendous bhakti. In the evening talks, it's all so clear. Then there was a Jain gentleman, okay, a doctor. I forget his name now, but he used to participate in the evening talks. And he was a very simple man, okay. So they used to have even a little bit of fun at his expense. But he had tremendous bhakti for tremendous. I forget the name now, but he's there in the, he used to come from Gujarat, and wonderful man. He was a doctor. So we come back to our text, all right? So first Karma Yoga, next Bhakti Yoga, then, and the two must merge. And finally, second is Jnana Yoga, the divine, the knowledge of the divine. Then Bhakti Yoga, adoration and seeking of the Supreme Self. Then finally, and here insistence is on devotion. And the knowledge is not subordinated. So all the three merge and become one fusion, but only perfectly in the end. In the beginning or in the middle, there can be fusion, but imperfect fusion. As you said, there are gradations. Okay. So,
Rangada,
tell me.
Does this mean that we have to start necessarily with Karma Yoga and then go to Jnana Yoga and then go to Bhakti Yoga? It's not like that, no?
No, absolutely not. You start with what is the strongest element in each individual nature. Somebody may be very emotional, somebody may be very intellectual, okay? Somebody may be very work-oriented, okay? So there are so many different types of things. So it depends on your nature. He has said that very clearly in the synthesis. You start with any one and slowly they merge. It's not a serial thing at all, that you have to start with Karma Yoga and then Jnana Yoga and all. But a lot of importance was given to Karma Yoga. Mother also was very much in favor of Karma Yoga. In fact, sometimes she used to go and even to express how important it is, she used to say, instead of pretending for half an hour and thinking that you are doing meditation and actually your mind is wandering here and there, go and do some work. It's easier to offer your work to the divine. So she used to say, and a lot of people, yeah, tell me.
Rangada, I just wanted to add something that if we see the progression of the chapters of the Gita, then
Yes,
Jnana Yoga, we have to understand it as differently from the yoga of the intelligence, will, and of knowledge, analytical knowledge. So when the soul is first awakened to spiritual life, so the second chapter, which is Sankhya and Yoga, is about analytical knowledge, various philosophies, what is it about, and
Sankhya,
and Sankhya can be taken in a broader concept, that of analytically understanding. Like even integral yoga, we can understand by reading the life divine. Now, when we read the life divine, that is not Jnana Yoga. That is just
absolutely not.
Yes, so
Absolutely
that is the distinction I wanted to highlight here. And why
I said that right at the beginning.
Yes. No, I'm just adding to what you are saying. And then why Karma Yoga? Because it is in action that insights come.
That's right.
And then the knowing happens. The realization is Jnana Yoga. The knowledge of the mind is not Jnana Yoga.
Absolutely not. You can't say it is Jnana Yoga. It is not spiritual knowledge. It may be Jnana Yoga. You're trying to understand, but it may be a yogic effort. But the knowledge is not necessarily there. Okay? That is definite. Mental knowledge is one thing, and in fact, in the synthesis, Ramdas said everything. He says you may have read 100,000 books and you may know all there is to be known mentally, and yet you may not have spiritual knowledge. He says that very clearly in the synthesis. Mental knowledge is not spiritual knowledge. Very clear. That is the reason why scientific knowledge, however useful it be, it is not spiritual knowledge.
But then we cannot practice Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga, it will automatically come. You cannot say that I'm practicing Jnana Yoga. In practice, there is no Jnana Yoga. When you have all this, then it will come. No, the realization will come. We are not practicing Jnana Yoga.
No, I think the beginning of spiritual knowledge is the mental silence, and I think that can be practiced.
Yeah, say one should never make categorical statements. Okay, when you say something, all categorical statements have to be eliminated because, as just now Yasmin said, there's a fusion and a gradation. That's a very important principle. So one can't make categorical statements. Any categorical statement you make is bound to be not fully correct. Okay? There may be a truth in it, but not fully correct. Okay, let's
You
get on
know,
with Yeah.
mother says that a drop of practice is worth more than an ocean of theories.
That's why Karma Yoga. That's right.
Whatever. So even the drop of practice,
Yes.
you may have this ocean or a universe of knowledge, but then
Yeah.
you have to practice, no? If you
Absolutely.
don't practice, then it is futile.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree. Absolutely.
But this did not answer my question that we cannot say that we are practicing Dhyana Yoga. I mean, Dhyana Yoga cannot be practiced. There is no practice of Dhyana Yoga. No? It will be the revelation. It is, you cannot practice Dhyana Yoga.
Okay. So I read the last sentence. Okay? And the fruit of the sacrifice, the one fruit still placed before the seeker, is attained. Union with the divine being and oneness with the supreme divine nature. So divine being, the Purusha aspect, and the supreme divine nature, the nature of the divine, the Prakriti aspect. So you become perfect when in your highest part of the being, you are one with the divine, but even your body, mind, life becomes one with the divine, and all your actions, all your thoughts, and all your feelings are absolutely pure and perfect. That's the ideal for integral yoga, as well as there is a hint of that in the Gita. So, to sum up, okay, the three steps: Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. And each one has got three elements. So, the last one, Bhakti Yoga, there are only two elements, but we'll see what they are. Number one, what is the Karma Yoga? The first is renunciation of desire. Okay? Nishkama karma. Renunciation of desire. Second, perfect equality, samatha. The first is nishkama karma. Try to do everything without desire and motive. Offer that divine. Perfect equality, samatha. Try to be absolutely indifferent and not interested in taking sides in anything. Even when one hears opinions or one sees something, try to remain unaffected. That's a perfect samatha. Third element in Karma Yoga, works are to be done as a sacrifice to the divine. These are the three elements of the Karma Yoga. Now we come to the Jnana Yoga. What are the three elements there? Renunciation of the doership of works. When you feel that you are doing something, you must understand that you are not doing, you are being made to do. Then you realize that the ego will slowly start becoming depleted. It will become less and less and less because you know that you are not doing. The whole idea of ego is mainly I am doing. Okay, so that slowly starts going up. Second element of the Jnana Yoga, realization of the self, equal, immutable being. Make your mind silent and rise to the self. And when you rise to the self, your samatha becomes perfect. You are not at all affected by what's happening in the physical world. Then the last element of Jnana Yoga, realization of all works as mechanical operations of universal nature. It is universal nature which is making you dance to her tune. Your body is acting according to nature's wills and nature's forces. Okay? Just as the tree is growing, the tree is not growing by its own will. It is growing because of the conditions in the physical world, the water situation, the oxygen situation, the sunlight situation. absolutely the same way, your body also is being subjected to action by nature. But we don't realize that. We feel that we are doing everything. So you have to renounce the idea of doership. Okay? Then you realize when you go to the self, you have lost your identity with body, mind, life, which is nature in you. So you realize that you are not doing anything. The non-doership is a very big realization in the Jnana Yoga. You're absolutely without emotion. Then this is the three elements. Renunciation of desire, doership of action, then realization of equal self, and when you go to the self, the realization that universal Prakriti is doing everything, you are not doing anything. Then we come to the third one, which is the Bhakti Yoga. Realization of the Supreme Self. Okay? Governing Prakriti. So, in the Bhakti Yoga, you address yourself to the divine without reference to Prakriti. Okay? It governs Prakriti. You realize the individual divine within yourself or even above yourself. That is the Bhakti Yoga. Offering of our love and sacrifice of works to the divine. This is what Bhakti Yoga consists in. So that completes the core of the teaching. The core of the teaching, practice all the three, not necessarily in serial order, but one by one, depending on what your nature is. It may take even one life, but doesn't matter. Next life, you will be able to do the next one. So, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Swayambhu is insist on all. And even Swayambhu, although his starting point was Jnana Yoga, because he realized the silent self in Baroda, but he continued to work. He never gave up work. In fact, Ghora Karma, he uses the word Ghora Karma, violent action. He was in favor of even throwing the British out with force. Okay? And that's exactly what the next three chapters are going to be. Is violence necessarily evil, as Gandhi and many others claim? That's the whole question. It's a very interesting question, and three full chapters on that. Okay? So this is what we have to understand. So this is the core of the teaching. Do Karma Yoga, do Jnana Yoga, do Bhakti Yoga, not necessarily in serial order, depending on your nature. That completes the core of the teaching. Okay.
So, thank you, Rangada. I think I don't remember who asked that question. Can I answer her? That the question was that Jnana Yoga we cannot do, but it happens by itself. I don't know who asked it.
That is Tarika.
Tarika Devi.
Yeah, so can I answer that?
Yeah.
Go
sure.
ahead. Go ahead.
So the whole part 2 of synthesis of yoga is yoga of integral knowledge. So it is not just it happens by itself. There are practices like the purified understanding, concentration, renunciation, release from the ego, release from the heart and mind. So these are the psychological things that one has to do. It just does not happen by itself.
That's right. That's
And
quite right.
yeah, so the whole
Nothing
section
happens
of
by chance.
yoga of integral knowledge is about that Jnana Yoga.
Yeah.
And even in yoga of self,
By chance.
yes, and in yoga of self perfection also, purification of lower mentality, purification of intelligence and will. So all of these are aspects of the Jnana Yoga.
That's right. In fact, that's a whole section. Section 1, section
You know
2,
what
section
I feel, that compared to what an ordinary person who does not do yoga, first of all, though, we are taught that we have a body, we have a vital, we have a mind and a psychic. So this is
Okay.
the first elementary step. And then
Yes.
later on we know, okay, vital is full of desires. So when I
Yes.
have a desire to buy something, my mind will say, okay, this is a desire and not a need.
Okay.
So it helps me to now differentiate a desire from a need.
Of course.
And then slowly, one learns to become a witness and look at a problem or look at any situation without getting involved. So I think this
That's
is the basic element of Jnana Yoga that we are putting into practice, but we are not aware that we are putting it into practice.
That also can happen. Yes. In fact, there is a very often the inner being is doing sadhana and we are not conscious of it. Okay. This is something that you have to understand. You have a body mind life, which is your external part. But there's an internal part. You have an inner mind, inner vital, inner soul, inner body, which is a subtle body. And there is also behind the inner mind, inner vital, and the inner physical, there is a psychic. And the psychic is trying to influence you. And the more open you are through many, many lives, the psychic can influence you more. Even from the self, from above you, there is constantly a stream of guidance that is coming. Okay. But because of our density, this we don't understand always the thing. And even when we understand, we misunderstand it. The guidance coming from on top is misinterpreted. So it's a constant, it's a gradation, it's a slow progress. So mental knowledge does help. What I didn't mean that mental knowledge is not yoga. No. Even mental knowledge, because you make an effort and you try, first of all, to understand which are even morality is the lowest element of a spiritual life. It is not spiritual life, but it's an element. You must be moral to begin with. When you are in spiritual consciousness, morality may not apply. But that's different. You have to start from the lowest level and slowly go up. Okay, so
Okay,
we
thank
have
you.
about, yeah, go ahead, tell me.
No, I said thank you, Gitanjali.
Oh, yes, yes. We can thank everybody, yeah. We
You're
can even
welcome.
thank. Yes, that's right. So the next chapter is Kurukshetra, the war, and that's a very clearly a symbol. And the next chapter is man and the battle of life. In other words, you have to battle. Okay, life is a battle. It's an effort. And the last is the creed of the Aryan fighter. So there are 3 chapters on violence. Is violence also a necessary divine element? Don't forget Shakti. Okay, Shakti is a divine thing. But we have a tendency in our mind to always associate power and Shakti with cruelty, with hatred, and with impure action. It is bad to use force. Okay, that's the reason why even when India was trying to get the atom bomb, there were any number of people who were saying, no, 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 atom bomb is very, very harmful, and we should not even go on that path. Okay, that's not a correct argument at all. You can get power, but use it in the right way. Wrong use of power is what is necessary or what is wrong. But power you must always have. In fact, that's what Srivendra says very clearly. He says the ascetic who runs away from the world doesn't need power. He needs only knowledge. Or he may need bhakti, but he wants to run away from the physical world. But integral yoga, you are acting in the physical world where power is necessary. So don't give up power, but use it in the right way. That's important. So 3 chapters on power and violence. And it's a very interesting discussion, sometimes quite subtle, and we'll have a look at that. So we have time. So shall we start reading? Kurukshetra.
Rangada, I had a little insight.
Go ahead.
So these 3 steps, no, this renunciation of desire, perfect equality, and works as sacrifice to the divine. I see a correspondence with the 3 steps of integral yoga, which is psychicization, spiritualization, and supramentalization. You know, renunciation of desire comes when one has, there is no fruit because you have always lived and you'll always live that psychic consciousness. And perfect equality can only come when there is a universalization of the being, you know, the self, the Atman, the realization of that. When one, as in the Isha, it is said, ekatva manu pashyata, you know, when there is no another. And then supramentalization is when you're working as a child of the mother, the supramental energies flow through you and work as sacrifice to the divine. I somehow saw this correspondence I thought I should share.
Yeah, to put it in a nutshell, we can go this way. That's why there's a chapter in Life Divine, the triple transformation. And the triple transformation, he recommends actually a serial. Okay. He recommends, he says, first it is very, very safe to get the psyche. And when the psyche comes forward, it can give you intense bhakti yoga. And when you have bhakti yoga and the psyche comes forward, the way becomes very safe. If you start with jnana yoga, it can be dangerous. Okay. So first is psychic, and the psychic is the individual being. And the individual being, you can equate it with bhakti yoga. Okay. Then you go to the self. When you go to the self, you get knowledge. So that is the jnana yoga. When you go to but in the jnana yoga, you may not have power in the physical world. So when you go to the supramental level, you get the power element. Because you have the power. So you can say that the transcendent, the cosmic, and the individual correspond to these three levels. One can say that, yes. The supramental, the transcendent gives you power. The spiritual gives you power, but ineffective power. Not fully, not complete power. But that gives you knowledge, the spiritual planes of consciousness, the second level. The first level, psychic being, you are ignorant, but your psychic can come forward even in your ignorance. And that gives you bhakti yoga. So you could say that the transcendent corresponds to power. The second one, the spiritual planes of consciousness gives you knowledge, not mental knowledge, spiritual knowledge. And the psychic emergence, even when you are imperfect in your outer nature, that can happen, but that makes it very safe because that's a sunlit path. When the psyche comes forward, everything is a sunlit path. There is no difficulty. Okay, that is the answer to the Christian theory that you have to suffer to go to God. Okay, but Saint Bernadette was a very young girl, and she had the vision of the Mother Mary. Okay, and the she never had suffering. And there is a very beautiful film on her in which the sisters are going on saying, her companion in church, they are going on saying, you have not suffered, how can you know God? Okay, you can't know God without suffering. But that's not true, because suffering can be there in the other two paths, but when you are having a bhakti yoga path, it can be a sunlit path. There need not be any suffering. That's a sunlit path. That's
And
why.
Rangada, that is why I think in Kathopanishad, the first boon of Nachiketa is the Nachiketa's fire. You know, the psychic. That is the first boon he gets from Yama. Because when we have to have immortality in the body, I think it is the psychic that has to be first realized.
That's right. Okay. So what do we do? It's 8:35 or what is the time? Shall we start this chapter next time?
It's 35.
What do you say?
Yeah, we'll start next time because.
Okay, we'll do that. Kurukshetra will start next time. Okay, and it is symbolic. Kurukshetra. And even today, Kurukshetra is there in India. There is Kurukshetra, there is Hastinapur. All these places are still there. There is Ayodhya. Okay. So, Ramayana and Mahabharata are not absolutely only stories. They are also part history.
But
Okay.
are they the original places, or they have been named afterwards? How do we know?
No, because there is mention of Ayodhya in Ramayana. So how could it be named afterwards? Ayodhya is mentioned in the Ramayana. Kurukshetra is mentioned in the.
What I mean is, supposing plot A. Now you're calling that plot land A as Ayodhya. But
Okay.
is it that, or was there land B next to it which was Ayodhya? We don't know that.
I understand what you're saying, and there is a possibility that what you're saying is right. Okay, there is clearly a possibility. So anyway, many things we don't know, and there is also a confusion about the past. So unfortunately, India didn't have a very developed historical sense. And there's a reason for that. India has always been thinking of the infinite, the beyond the finite, beyond the small details. They are very, very. Sri Aurobindo has a very interesting comment on the Western attitude in this in the Indian attitude. He says there's a small booklet called "The Philosophy of the Upanishads," and he says the Indian temperament is that it takes a boat and goes into the vast ocean and explores the ocean. Okay, this is what he says, and they don't care for small details. But when you in the Westerner, they take their boat and they start examining all the coasts. And that is a very good description of science. They go into details and they discover all what is there on the coastline. Okay. So this is what he says about. So that's the reason why probably the history sense was not very developed. There is history somewhat, but not very detailed history of Indian ancient culture. Interesting point. But that's the thing.
If you go to Israel, to Bethlehem, then
Yeah.
as a tourist, you are taken to this cave of nativity.
Uh-huh.
Now, where Christ is supposed to be born. But
Uh-huh.
it is not at all what people talk about. It's something totally different. And we had a Jewish guide. So she made a lot of fun of it and said, oh, this is supposed to be the cave of nativity. And I don't think Christ could have been born there because he was born in a manger according to the Christian science. And
That's
then
right.
above this cave of nativity, the queen of Syria built the first church. Christ never had a church. So she built the first church. Then next to it, the Greek Orthodox built a church according to their way of thinking. And next to that, last one is the Roman Catholic Church.
That's right.
So things are so much distorted. You really don't know, was Christ born in that cave there, or was he born in a manger or a farm?
Okay.
So we truly don't know unless you have the spiritual part to go there and see and know what really things were like.
Yeah. If you remind me, next time I will start with a very interesting thing about Christ being born in a manger. Okay. It's a very interesting story, and how Sri Krishna is born in the prison. So these are also very clearly symbols. We'll discuss that next time because today there is no time. But before we start this Kurukshetra, okay, I'll give you a comparison of Christ being born in a manger and Sri Krishna being born in a prison at midnight with the storm raging outside. Think about it, very clearly symbols. Okay, they're symbolic. So we'll discuss that next time before we start reading the Kurukshetra, if you remind me. Okay, it's a very interesting combination. Even note very carefully Christ beginning with Kra and Krishna also beginning with Kra. Okay, and the stories are so similar in their inner meaning. Okay, so could be a symbolic thing, but we'll see that next time. So can I bid au revoir to everybody?
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Rangada.
Au revoir,
Thank you.
Rangda.
Bonjourne.
Have a nice day, everybody. Okay.